Dear students, I am very delighted to be participating in this Gita Mahotsav organized by IIT Kanpur, for which I heartily thank the organizers for having according this invitation to me. And it is a great pleasure and a great joy to delve on this very important subject of Bhagavad Gita and the subject of Karma Yoga in the Bhagavad Gita. And as far as the importance of Bhagavad Gita is concerned, I consider this book to be the greatest work which deals with the philosophy of life. It gives us a comprehensive philosophy of life. And in this respect, perhaps no other book can match the grandeur, the majesty, the profundity, and the clarity with which Bhagavan Sri Krishna presents this wonderful picture of the complete, comprehensive philosophy of life. So before we get into the subject of Karma Yoga, let us just try to understand what exactly Bhagavad Gita deals with. It's fine, it is the comprehensive philosophy of life. But if you look at the book, it seems to be a massive book with more than 700 verses in it. But if you study it carefully, the subject is very simple. You can categorize the entire book into two parts. One part of the book deals with the true nature of man, the true nature of this world which we are experiencing. And the other part of the book deals with the way to experience the true nature of man, the way to experience the true nature of this entire creation which we are experiencing. So one is the goal, and other is the means to reach that goal. So one is the end, other is the upaya. Shankaracharya says, it is the upaya, prapti upaya, tat prapti upaya, to reach this true dimension, the eternal dimension, the unchanging dimension of this human personality. So in this way, we can see that Bhagavad Gita deals with this issue of taking us from the realm which we are presently experiencing to the realm which is actually true. And without experiencing that, human life can never be fulfilled. So this is what, broadly speaking, Bhagavan Sri Krishna accomplishes in this wonderful book called Bhagavad Gita, in which through the instrumentality of Arjuna, Sri Krishna is showing the way for the entire humanity to raise themselves from the level at which they are living to the level of that absolute reality. And among the different ways which are discussed there, karma is one of the ways. Karma yoga is one of the ways. There are other paths also which have been discussed, which, when practiced, takes us to that ultimate reality. So among the different paths discussed in the Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga is one such very important path. Now, before understanding what this Karma Yoga is, let us try to understand one point. This Karma Yoga, actually speaking, cannot be discussed without referring to the true nature of man. It is only in the context of the true nature of the human being that this Karma Yoga becomes relevant and it comes into existence. Because Karma Yoga essentially it is a means to reach that true nature of man. So, when we talk about the human being, this human system, we have two dimensions. One is the real dimension, which is actually existing, and other is the apparent dimension. We can say that one is the real man, the other is the apparent man, or the fictional identity that we have. One is the real identity, and the other is the fictional identity which all of us have. Now, in our day-to-day life, all our actions can either be based on the real nature of man, and the actions can be performed for the sake of the real dimension and the real nature of man, or our actions can be based upon the fictional identity or the apparent man, and the actions may be performed for the sake of the fictional person or the apparent man. In this way, the karma, the actions which we perform in our everyday life, they can be either binding or liberating, depending upon the kind of basis that we choose. Now see, when actions are performed based on the fictional identity of the human being, and for the sake of the fictional man or the apparent man, that is karma. It binds us. Opposed to this, when we perform actions based on the real nature of man and for the sake of the real nature of the man, then that action becomes karma yoga, and this liberates us. Now, a little bit about this real nature of man and the apparent nature of man, because this may be a little bit confusing for some of us. When I talk about the real nature of man, we need to understand that what we understand ourselves to be in our present state, we know ourselves to be only this body and mind, and our identity is completely based upon this body and mind idea. This is what Vedanta refers to as the apparent man or the fictional man, because when we inquire into the truth of this fictional identity, I call it fictional because it goes away. When we inquire into the true nature of our own self, who am I? Slowly the truth dawns, and the true nature of man, which is referred to by the great masters as the Atman, that begins to reveal its true nature. It begins to be experienced by the spiritual seeker. So the true nature of man, which is referred to as Atman, is behind this body and the mind which we are experiencing. And our identity as Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, based upon the body and the mind, is a provisional identity, or we can say it's a fictional identity, which is not true, which is not absolutely true. This will go away. When we initiate the process of inquiry into who I am, we will slowly move towards the experience of our real identity, which is beyond the body and the mind, which is referred to as the Atman, which is unchanging, which is undying. In fact, all the best things of life comes from that dimension. Let all the students remember this one important point. The best things of life comes from the non-physical dimension of the human personality. Please note it down. All the best things of life which we are looking for, no matter whether we are students, professionals, or anybody else, it comes from the non-physical dimension and never from the physical dimension of human personality. Because this physical dimension of this human being, as well as the world which we are experiencing, it is constantly changing. It is transient. It is impermanent. It is continuously getting destroyed. So this one understanding we should have. It is only in this context that karma yoga comes into existence. So karma yoga is the means that we have through which the human being, in and through the field, arena of action, he moves towards the true nature of his own being from the fictional identity. This is what is the main purpose of karma yoga. Let us make this point very clear. So this is what I said. When actions are performed based upon our fictional identity and for the sake of the fictional identity, then that is karma which binds us, which keeps us bound to this fictional realm, this transient realm, the temporary realm, and it makes us suffer in different ways. And at the same time, when actions are performed with the intention of experiencing the true nature of the man, and for the sake of the true nature of the man, which is Atman, then that very action becomes karma yoga, and karma yoga liberates us. Karma binds us. So this is a very important thing that we have to keep it in mind. Karma yoga is the means, the way to reach our true identity, which is the immortal Atman. That is why throughout the Bhagavad Gita, we will see that Krishna again and again says, be yogis, tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. Hey Arjun, become a yogi, become a yogi. Yogi means the person who is striving to go back to his true nature. That is the meaning of a person who is yogi.